a very happy afternoon, and I wish a very great Women's Day to all the wonderful women out there. I, Padmini Suthar, on behalf of the Student Council of Guru Shri Shanti Vijay Jain College for Women, take this pleasure to be the host of today's event. A day without a prayer is a day without hope, and a life without a prayer is a life without light. I now will let us get ready for the prayer. I now request Rihana Shamim AM from third year BSc Computer Science, Department Secretary of the Computer Science Department of our college, to deliver the welcome address and introduce our today's guest of honor to the audience. Over to you, Rihana.
A warm smile is a universal welcome. A very good afternoon to everyone. On behalf of the Student Council of our college, I, Rihana Shamim, from 3rd BSc Computer Science, Department of Computer Science. I feel immensely delighted to welcome you all. I welcome our respected Principal Ma'am, Dr. M.K. Malati Ma'am. Welcome, Ma'am. I welcome our Honorable Secretary and Correspondent, Dr. Gautam P. Vaid. Sir, welcome, sir. My special welcome to our today's guest of honor, Ms. Rachel Chitra, ma'am, senior journalist, Reuters. Welcome, ma'am. I welcome all the faculty members and the audience. Now, let me introduce today's guest of honor to the audience. Rachel Chitra, ma'am, has worked as a finance journalist for Reuters News, Times of India, Forbes, Middle East, and other media houses. With 18 years' experience in journalism, she currently tracks finance, rural distress, and labor issues. She was selected as a Reuters Fellow in 2021 by the Reuters Institute for Study of Journalism and University of Oxford. Over to you, Padmini.
Thank you, Rihana. I now request our today's guest of honor and speaker, Ms. Rachel Chitra, ma'am, to acknowledge the audience. Please, ma'am.
Instead of possibly coming home late. So that way I feel like initiatives like getting like girl children cycles is quite useful. Like in fact there was a study by P Sainath, the journalist who won the Max Essay award, about how just this small scheme, not a small scheme, it's a large scheme, but just this one scheme of cycles, of providing cycles for girl children, actually resulted in higher enrollment rates in high school. And the other thing that we also see is that women participation in the workforce is much less compared to men. Now, they did a study in Silicon Valley in the US, and they found that the number of female tech programmers, like tech coders, was 22%. And if you see for India, like when it comes to Cognizant, Wipro, TCS, all these IT companies, their enrollment rate, like, at entry level jobs is as high as 45%. So 45% of their workforce is women, which, on the face of it looks good. I mean, like, oh, so India is doing much better than Silicon Valley, than the US. So India is producing more women software engineers than the US, and the proportion of women software engineers seems to be obviously higher than Silicon Valley. But then there's another riddle to this, that even though at entry level it is 45%, by the time they come to senior roles, at management roles at these same companies, at the same IT companies, the study found that there were only 28% women in leadership roles. So again, there you're seeing the disparity where possibly women lose out on leadership opportunities because of marriage, because of childbirth, because of not adequate support in looking after the child. um, who is to look after the child? Like, if you are going to be in office for 8 to 10 hours, and inevitably the burden only falls on women. So these are some of the indicators that, like, we still there's still a long way to go before, we can talk about, like, yes, the opportunities are equal, but later circumstances, does it enable to you make use of the opportunities that you get as a woman? So that's what you should look at. So this was Forbes. I've just taken the last 5 years, like, who made it to the Forbes. So this Forbes publication always puts out this top 100 most powerful women in the world. So among the top 100 most powerful women in the world, these women have featured. So you have Nirmala Sitaraman, you have Roshni Nadar, then you have, Biocon's chief, Kiran Majumdar, and or say Indra Nui, who was the CEO of Pepsi Co in the US. So with all these women, if you see, they will also many a time add they will also, like, I remember Indra Nui having to state the fact that she's also a loving mother, that she's also she's like wife, a mother. She gives her interview saying, I'm not just a CEO, but I'm also a wife and mother. And if you see even Hillary Clinton, on her when she was campaigning to become the president of the US, she puts in her Twitter tagline, she puts this wife and mother. Now, if you go to Bill Clinton's Twitter handle, you will not see husband and father or anything like that. He just goes on to state what he is, what his value system. So that shows how women are being seen. That, like, no matter the highest levels of power that you reach, like, because Hillary Clinton herself became a senator and then she ran for the presidential election. But no matter, even if you are aiming for the highest office, you're still being judged on these criterias: how good a woman, how good a wife you are, how good a mother you are. So I thought this was interesting, that, like, even for the most powerful women, uh, probably men are threatened by their success, that you feel the need to, make yourself more relatable. Oh, I'm not like a power hungry, I'm not a career minded woman, I also have family values. Why do you have to say also have family values? Can't you just be a career minded person? You see so many men who go to the Gulf, they live away from their families for years, for months, for years together, just to make money. And we are okay with those roles. We are okay with the man going out making money, but, like, the woman in some ways obliged to stay back home to juggle career and family responsibilities. So you can see, like, how even in the 21st century we are still, women have to make compromises, and women also have to be very careful in how they portray themselves. The idea of even calling yourself a feminist is something people shy away from, because they immediately think, oh, oh, you are one of those bra burning, angry, very revolutionary types who hates men. So this is another fallacy that people have, that if you're a feminist you have to hate men, whereas actually, women's rights is about equality for all. It also means recognizing transgenders, it means recognizing gender fluidity, it means recognizing men as our allies. Because, in a world where men have to be our allies if if we have to make progress in a male dominated society that is the India that we are in today. And then I also want to, so these are the, so the earlier women, I'm sure you would not have had any problem uh, identifying their names, the people whom they are. But then the second panel of women are all Padma Shri winners and national award winners. And yet, if I ran a quiz now and asked you who are these people, you'd have a little difficulty trying to figure out who they are. And yet they are women who have achieved a lot in their respective fields. The person who's heading the panel is Meena Longjam. She won the national award in 2015 for her filmmaker, for her film Auto Driver. And if you see her film Auto Driver itself, talks of women empowerment because it's about Imphaal's first female auto driver. So see, in today's India, we're always celebrating the first. I remember this was in 2005 or 2007. Chennai had its first female petrol pump attendant. And so we made like a big, hula about it. And then next we had our first food delivery agent, like a girl who's driving a bike and who delivers food, like, because this was considered like a blue collar job and a male, only men usually do deliveries. But then when the first female delivery agent came about, we celebrated it. So what should be commonplace, it should be common, right? Like for women to be able to work in the same sectors that men work in. And yet, like, when a woman becomes a petrol pump attendant or when a woman becomes an auto driver, it it becomes so unusual, it becomes unusual enough to make news headlines and people even make films about it. So this again, points to the fact that there are a lot of sectors that women are not able to break the glass ceiling, to so to speak. So people prefer if they can see women in roles where it's caregiving roles, like, if you're a teacher, it's a good thing. Like, no, I think no person, no husband or no father-in-law or mother-in-law is going to object to the daughter-in-law working as a teacher or as a lecturer in a college. These are all nice jobs, jobs which don't really require you to go all out, to work odd hours, to work night shifts. But then the minute somebody is doing something else, like say being a nurse on the night shift or being a doctor, being other things, like I have heard my friends, colleagues who are doctors saying that they still get questioned on what shift they've been put on that week, that they still, it's like a weekly struggle to get permission to do their work from home. They're not getting permission from their bosses, mind you, but they're trying to get permission from the people at home so that they can. And also, none of these people are unhappy when it comes to the financial contribution. So they're fine taking the money, but it's like they want people to, women to do seemingly feminine roles while they're earning the money that the family requires. So I feel here is where the hypocrisy and the double speak in India's this, that like beti bachao, where we're saying that, like, let our girls prosper, let our girls get educated, let them get the best jobs possible. But still, at some point you say, oh, maybe this job isn't right for you. Are you sure you want to do this? So, you see people questioning you when you take up roles. I remember reading this news story about a engineer who had taken up a job in an oil rig. She was the only woman in an oil rig, that is an offshore oil rig where there are more than 70 men. So, so every time somebody breaks the glass ceiling, you see it getting reported. But I'm just wishing that there would be a day when we don't have to break the glass ceiling, where it becomes normal for us to take jobs as like delivery boys or petrol pump attendants, or working on an offshore rig, becoming marina engineers, going to like an astronaut, like, going to space. Like, it shouldn't be news that it's a women astronaut. Why is everything being defined by your gender? Why is it like we say, I'm a female founder, I'm a female founder of this company, I'm a female venture capitalist, I'm a female VC? Why can't it just be, I am a founder, or I'm a venture capitalist, I am a business leader? So I feel many a time we have to pay attention to the adjectives, to to the words that we tag, the prefixes that we tag in front of sentences. Now, I just want to run through. I'm sure all of you must be aware of the problems that Indian women face, that there is increasing violence against women, and then you have gender discrimination. And this can take all forms, like gender discrimination at the workplace, sexual harassment. It could take any number of forms. Then there's female feticide. Luckily, India's numbers have gone down in this respect, and our gender ratio, girl to boy ratio, has improved in the last decade. Then problems of female education, where access to education is a key issue. Access to education and the mindset of parents who want their child educated. In this front, also, India has been doing much better in the last decade than in the previous years. Child marriage is still an issue, but again, we have made great progress in this instance. Also, child marriage, one has to see that it it is largely a rural issue. So or at least it gets portrayed in the media as a rural issue. So many a time we have this thing of making a news sound exotic, and the news becomes exotic, and only that particular case where the child is being forced into marriage, only that is being looked at, but not the wider problem of why this happens. How many more such marriages are happening in that this our administrations, I feel, have failed us. If the only option that parents think of for the child at the age of 16 or 17 is that they want the child married, that they don't think that there could be a future, that there could be many things that she could achieve, that she could become the next Sania Mirza, that she could make it big in sports or in any other field. And the other thing is problems relating to employment and unemployment. Here again, so when we are talking about employment, it is more easy to define the problems that women face in the organized sector, in the white collar space. Because in the white collar space, you obviously, you have these surveys, you can see, what percentage of your workforce is female. So, it is easier to address a problem if it is being noted. If you're having enough data to capture what's happening. But in India, if you see, a majority of Indians work in the unorganized sector. More than 60% of India works in the unorganized sector. This could be garments, this could be chemicals, this could be even small scale cottage industry units. It could be the garment manufacturing unit, and the huge chunk of women employment is in the agriculture sector, where these are women farm laborers, and yet that data does not get captured. And also, if you see, it's only in white collar jobs that you will have things like maternity benefits. You will have a 6-month leave, so you can give birth to your child, stay at home for 6 months, be paid for the 6 months that you're staying at home, and then come back to the workspace. But if you're looking at the unorganized sector, if you're looking at the garments industry, if you're looking at all this, their contract system defines employment such that they can fire this person with just a week's notice. So basically, you will get fired, you'll just get a week's salary. And many of them would prefer not to keep someone who's pregnant, because anyway, you're going to go on leave soon, like once you have the child. So there is this problem of women in the garments industry, or sales girls and all that, who after they get pregnant and have the child, the only option they have is to quit. Because unlike professional women, white collar women who are able to afford daycare centers, who are able to afford hiring a nanny or help at home, who are able to get parental support at times, these women, the only thing they will have going for them is the traditional structure. If the family, if they don't have parents or in-laws who can look after the child, they'll just have to quit the job. They have, because it is not possible for every woman today in employment to be able to afford a nanny, to be able to afford daycare. So if you see, their hurdles to work is much higher than a white collar worker, someone like you, because the audience I'm addressing is obviously like you are college students, you're going to get white collar jobs, and the problems you face are also valid problems. But I'm just saying that these women will be facing 10x the problems that you are facing. If you see in our Tamil movies and films, they have romanticized the idea of the rural woman. You'll see this woman who has just given birth, who ties the sari becomes a cradle, and she puts the child there, and she sings as she works. She cuts paddy and this. But if you see, actually, it's the heights of cruelty. This woman has just recently given birth to a child, and she's coming back to work. Poverty, her financial circumstances are pushing her to it. So, if you can look beyond the beautiful green paddy fields and the beauty of the song and the lyrics, you will see that actually it's women exploitation. And this child is also probably um, not getting the attention the child should. Like at the start of its life itself, there's like a huge deficit that the child is starting out with, because the mother is facing such overwhelming problems. And the other thing is harassment of women at the workplace. Now, if you see the Me Too movement, it started with in the US with Harvey Weinfeld, and then the Me Too movement spread to India. And once the Me Too movement spread to India, I am running low on battery, and I don't have and I don't have power right now. I'm sorry if it shuts down, but I'll keep going. So the harassment of women at the workplace, what happens is, with the Harvey Weinfeld case, you saw a lot of women. They spoke up on social media. Hashtag Me Too was trending, where people found that their difficulty in legal redress, where they try to give a police complaint, or they try to take this person to court, and the system was pitted against them. They found that they couldn't, and after years of suffering under the sexual assault that had happened to them, they finally spoke up. They voiced what had happened to them. And if you see, the reaction has been immense. Of course, some people like Harvey Weinfeld eventually, they went to prison. But if you see in India, many of the men who were named in the case, in the Me Too scandals in India, they still continue to have their jobs. Nothing has happened to them, despite hashtag Me Too. Um, I'll give you a couple of cases. One of the most prominent cases was MJ Akbar. He was the former minister under the current government, and he faced a lot of Me Too accusations from nearly 16 women. Um, and these women, when they I believe even in Priya Ramani's testimony in court, she said um, 8 other women have publicly voiced on Twitter, under hashtag Me Too, that Mr. MJ Akbar was guilty of inappropriate behavior and had sexually assaulted them. And Indian men are so entitled, and they are so shameless that he went after her. He filed a defamation suit on Priya Ramani, and of course later the courts absolved her of all charges, and she was declared innocent in the case. But still, so for whoever speaks up, the lesson that they are trying to say is, we will go after you, we will go after you with cases, we want you to remain silent. That is the message that they're trying to send out, and the path to justice will be long and torturous. That's another message that they're sending. And then if the other problem you see is exploitation of women in the media. And well, I work in the media, so I think I already covered that with the harassment of women at the workplace, because I give mostly media example. And then you see divorce and desertion. Divorce and desertion, I'd say that the social stigma of divorce is problematic, where people feel that if someone is a divorcee, that it's possible that there's something wrong with her. There has to be something wrong with her, right? It is the same thing that we see when it comes to rape. When it comes to rape, there's a lot of victim blaming that goes on, where it's the victim's clothes, it's the victim's character, it's the victim's. So you have xxxx so many reasons why it is the woman's mistake. And you'll see the same happening in a divorce case. Like in a divorce or a custody battle, you will see that it is always uh, the woman who is at fault, and it takes a lot of mental strength for you to overcome that and try to fight your battle, saying that, I'm not the only person who needs to be judged for a divorce. There's probably things that have happened on the other end too. So that's like with divorce. And divorce sometimes, most often, happens because of dowry. Dowry has harassment, unfortunately, even today, is an issue in India. You will still see cases. Only last year I remembered reading this case about a doctor who had ended her life because she couldn't bear the dowry harassment. And this was a doctor who had finished her MBBS and her masters, and yet a highly accomplished and a talented and intelligent woman, and yet she's facing this issue of dowry harassment. And then, fourthly, we see the decline in political participation of women. This, I would say, I would put a caveat to it, in the sense that you do see a lot of powerful women in as political leaders, but you're not seeing a higher amount of representation in the lower cabinet. I mean, in the lower panchayat, councillor, taluk levels, you're not seeing a high amount of political participation. And if you would have seen that recently, Chennai Mayor Priya, she got a lot of attention for becoming Chennai's first female mayor. But again, that points to the problem that she's the first female mayor. And so this exactly points to the fact that there's more, like, there need to be more women in all these areas of political representation, starting from like the panchayat level to the district level to the state level. We need more women participation. I'm not sure how familiar you are. I am based out of Bangalore, so I'm in the state of Karnataka, and the hijab row here has been a huge issue for us. And without see, of course, the hijab row points to deliberate religious discrimination. But since we are on the topic of women's equality and Women's Day, I would say that religious discrimination is 70% of the problem, but 30% of the problem is also the fact that we are so fond of policing women. We so want to tell women what they should wear, how they should behave, that they shouldn't wear jeans, that they shouldn't wear mini skirts, that they should not wear this, they should cover their heads. So it all comes from a very patriarchal society. Because if you see, it's not just Muslim women who are who who have who believe, because of their faith or because of circumstances, that they need to cover up. it This is something that pervades everyone, like in India, whether you're Sikh, whether you're Christian, whether you're Hindu, whether you're Muslim. So I also want to point to this fact that uh, policing of women attire and women behavior is something that's becoming normalized. And of course, it's very disappointing that the Karnataka High Court has enforced the hijab ban, meaning that the Karnataka High Court also believes that it has a say in deciding what women should wear in Karnataka. So this is Women's Day, and yet the women in Karnataka don't get to decide entirely what their wardrobe for the day is going to be. So that's one. And then this is the more serious issues of rape and violence against women. So Gauri Lankesh was a journalist who was shot dead in Bangalore, 8 bullets to her head, and that was because she went up against the BJP, and she exposed a lot of corruption scandals, and that's why. And she was non-partisan. She also exposed a lot of corruption that was happening in the Congress, but eventually this led to her death. The other most common form of violence that you see against women, the top photograph is the Nirbhaya case that happened in Delhi. Um, and if you remember, Nirbhaya was a young girl with lots of potential, and her rape was the most gruesome, horrific rape India had seen. India came out, like millions of people came out in protest to say that, like, our laws should be changed, there should be justice. And so Nirbhaya was one of those cases where Hello, can you hear me? Okay. Sorry, the power shut down and my laptop did not have enough
No
charge.
issues, ma'am.
Okay. No, so like I was saying about Nirbhaya, I'll close soon. I was almost onto my last slide. I had just like three more slides, so it's good. So it's fine. So like I was saying about Nirbhaya, it was an extremely gruesome incident, and it pointed to the fact uh, that men in India, the autonomy that they have, that there is no respect for the female body, that you feel that you can get away with. It starts with small things. You can see men catcalling. They'll whistle at you in the road, and then when you're in a public transport, they will see if they can get a little closer to grope you. And then it's these small liberties that they take, which ultimately leads to more horrific crimes of rape. And let me tell you, today in India, even today, the courts are not recognizing that marital rape is a crime. That if your husband rapes you, it apparently is not a crime, like if a stranger rapes you, because a husband has every right to assault you or treat you with violence. So that is the understanding, unfortunately, even that our courts have today in India. So we have a long way to go. And I wanted to highlight, if you saw in the slide, there was Nirbhaya case, and there was also Asifa Banu. This was the actually, we shouldn't be identifying her by name, because that is against the law. But this case, the Khatwar rape case, was an 8-year-old child. And the Khatwar rape case, if you see, it points to the fact that it's not really about like brutality. When it happens, brutality against women, it's not really about the age, or how attractive you are, or how or your clothes, or what this, because grandmothers get raped and children also get raped. So if you see, there's like a whole wide spectrum of people who are facing violence at the hands of men. So I feel that, like on the subject of on today being Women's Day, that we should like take steps, like slowly but tangibly take steps to reclaim our space. So if your colleague makes a sexist joke, if a classmate makes a sexist joke, they forward all these things, like about how women are, or wives are, or how your girlfriend wants dresses up a lot, takes a lot of time to have bath, spends a lot of time chatting with her friends, how women are supposed to be gossipy, and they spend all their time watching soap opera. So there are so many stereotypes. My thing is, as women, like on Women's Day, we should take a pledge that we own our body and we own our space. So if anyone is making sexist jokes, or if anyone is invading our space, if anyone makes any uncomfortable advances, we are going to say no. Because there is this saying that people can hurt you only if you give them the power to only if you give them the power to hurt you. So I think autonomy of yourself, of your body, of your space should be a pledge that we all take this Women's Day, including myself. Because there are so many times where I have been silent when someone tried to talk over me, man explain things to me, where I didn't speak up when I should have. So that could be our new pledge today. And thank you so much for hearing me speak. I'm sorry about the power shutdown here in Bangalore. And if you have any questions, I'm open to taking questions. Or how does this work?
No issues, ma'am.
Okay. Can I?
Can we
Is it
move?
possible to interact with the students, or it's? Can I take questions, or?
Ma'am, there are no questions yet. Can
Okay.
we move towards the end of the session?
Yeah, you can.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. We got to learn a lot many things from you today. We are really grateful that you joined us on this very important day. Thank you, ma'am. I call Angel Donita from 2nd BCS Shift 2, Joint General Secretary Student Council, to deliver the vote of thanks. Over to you, Angel.
So I take immense pleasure for giving the word of thanks. I'm Angel Nonita from 2nd BCA Shift 2, Joint General Secretary for the Student Council of Guru Shri Shanti Vijay Jain College for Women. First of all, I want to thank our Principal Ma'am, MK Malti Ma'am. Thank you, Ma'am. Then I want to thank our Honorable Secretary and Correspondent Sir, Gautam P. Wade Sir. Thank you so much, Sir. And then Miss Rachel Chitra Ma'am for being such an inspiration and for your talk. Thank you so much, Ma'am, for your valuable time. Then all the faculty members and then the student council, also the audience for your time. Thank you once again. I would like to ask everyone to raise for the national anthem. Thank you.